where it all started. Occlusal overload. Okay, the implants were overloaded and the bone would crack out. Now I've seen implants. You're going to see a couple of implants here where they didn't have bite guards and the whole buccal plate cracks out. Yeah, so issues, big issues. So, what do you do with these things? So every case has a bite guard because implants don't have periodontal ligament spaces. They don't move. Patient grinds, and if it hits high on there, they keep on whacking it. And sooner or later, either the crown's going to crack, the screw's going to crack, or the crown's going to loosen, or the implant cracks, or the bone cracks out. So you're going to have issues. So in my consent form, when I place an implant, I always put a bite guard as necessary. So if Mrs. Jones comes back and says, well, I have a problem with my implant, I said, where's your bite guard? Never got one. Oh, really? So I had a lady come in. She's holding her implant in her hand. See this implant? This is the implant you placed. It fell out. I go, she goes, it failed. I go, I placed that 16 years ago. I said, what did you do for the last 16 years? She goes, it was fine, but your implant failed. I'm thinking, well, you got 16 years out of it, But there wasn't any bone on it. Think about that. It's been in place for 16 years and integrated. She came out, it was perfectly clean. I'm looking at it, I go, there's no bone on this. I said, where's your bite guard? You've been grinding on this, haven't you? Because as they grind, the bone dies around it. She goes, what bite guard? I go, I said, when's the last time you were at a dentist? I don't know, 8 years ago. I said, I could put another implant in, but obviously there's a charge for it. So I guarantee implants unconditionally for 2 years. Something happens for 2 years, I got it covered. Within 5 years, from year 3 to 5, I give them 50%. So if there's a problem, I'll fix it at 50%. After 5 years, they're on their own. Now, the big problem now is fixed hybrids, because I've had a number of patients really clench and grind and crack the parts from metal fatigue. And one guy recently, we did a fixed hybrid on him, and he came in and he cracked every single part. The screws were fractured and everything. And I don't think I have it in there. The hybrid was an absolute disaster. And I looked at him and I go, what the heck were you doing? That was the hybrid.
Oh my God.
That's what occlusion does. Well, obviously, they didn't only crack that. It looks like I went through a garbage disposal for crying out loud. But this is the problem I'm having. So, I mean, we're having problems with implants. So that's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, so let's figure out what we're going to do with these things. So what's the etiology of the problem? I mean, obviously that is grinding. Okay. Sometimes it's because they can't clean it. Now you can go in there and treat it, but if the patient can't clean it, it's going to come back. So we want to get rid of, if you can clean it, you're going to remove the bacteria, dilute it, eliminate the inflammation, but it's got to be maintained. If you get the pockets down to 5 millimeters, that's normal. Because remember, it's a perimucosal seal, it's not a true pocket. So, I mean, sometimes there's a lot of tissue there, which is fine. It's fine, as long as it's healthy. Okay. And if you have a periimplantitis, you have to flap it. So we're going to show a lot of cases like that. Now this is the most interesting part, because there's only 44 companies in America. So think about that. There's 206 companies, implant companies throughout the world. And we don't have a clue who they are or what they are. And the new ADA Devices Committee found out that a lot of the overseas companies have zinc, copper, and nickel in them. Well, a lot of people are allergic to nickel. Okay, so let's talk about why do we have a problem. So first of all, not maintainable, we know about. Retained cement. Okay, remember, because of the perimucosal seal, the cement becomes a bigger problem. How about the parts don't fit well? Third-party parts. So I had a guy come in and he says, well, I'm going to go back to my country and have it restored. I go, well, then I don't guarantee your implant. Why? I go, because they may use third-party parts. I don't know where they're getting the parts from. I said, if you go to the dentist that referred you, I know that dentist. I know how they're going to restore it. So that's the biggest thing. Be careful with that, because people want to get a deal. I want to go in. It's cheaper when I go to my country. I go, yeah, it's cheaper for a good reason. So there's no PDL around implants. The collagen fibers are parallel. There's no attached gingiva a lot of times. occlusion, poor host bone. And then we talk about titanium oxide. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time here, but the implants, when an implant fails, there's actually corrosion of the implant. Okay, so it's a little bit more advanced than you just think, well, it's just, bacteria and stuff like that. There's actually, sometimes we just don't know why it failed. Sometimes they put an implant in and they have a problem, it's like, maybe they're allergic. But even this says, what is it that causes the problem? And what they did is they took a tooth and they took an implant. They put ligatures around it. And then took the ligatures out, I think it was 3 weeks later. And what they found is that the tooth responded great and the implant wasn't home. So when you do that, the implant never recovers. The teeth recover. There's pretty now ligament, there's better immune system around the tooth. So that's what they found. Following 3 weeks, gingivitis resolves, perimucositis only partially resolves. So this guy comes in, and these are all my cases, unfortunately. I mean, that either I treat or I place, but this one I did place. And he comes in, and he says, really mean, because the bone graft was lost. This is like 11 years later. And he's yelling at me. And I don't get people usually yelling at me. I'm just looking at him, I'm ready to say, door's over there. But I looked at him and I said, what's this? He goes, I have no idea. I said, do you get food caught in here? All the time. I said, did you ever address that with the dentist? No. I said, well, you have, bacteria caught way up in the root surface there. I said, it's because you have everything in the world, everything gets caught. He's yelling at me. I go, I didn't place the ground. I said, you should have brought that up with your dentist. Open contacts are awful. I said, the reason you lost your bone graft is this is all toxins in there and it's destroying your bone. I said, I can fix it, but it's going to take some work. So we took I said, you're going to need to take the crown off. Well, the crown was screwed up now, so that's pretty easy. Put a helium up now. When Linder took this out, he cleaned it out and put PRF in there, bone graft. We got the bone back. So he gets done. This is a nasty guy. He gets done. I go, how is it? He goes, oh, it feels good. He goes, but you know what? My insurance didn't cover it. You billed it wrong. I said, what did I bill wrong? I said, I cleaned the implant and put a bone graft in. Well, I need you to put all this stuff in. I go, well, I didn't do all that stuff. But I need you to change it. I go, no, sorry. He goes, I said, but he says, could I have a copy of that? I said, well, if you want, you can have your cell phone snap a picture. No, that's not what I paid for. I want you to send me a picture. I'm like, holy cow. Bye. Some people are like that. Some people are like that. Okay, so anyway. Now, let's talk about fixed hybrids. So, you guys take them off yet? Anybody take them off? You take them off? They're fun, aren't they? Yeah, right. So, the problem with fixed hybrids, and these are plastic. The plastic you have gonna have worse. It's just the bacteria. These are gross. These are absolutely gross. I mean, we're trying to help people by making it a fixed appliance. But the problem is that they're gross. Yeah, I know. The new zirconium are much better. They're much easier to maintain, and they don't collect all this stuff, okay? But, I mean, every single one I take off is one's worse than that. Now, this lady was interesting, because this here is all calculus. This, and you can see all the calculus even. That fixed hybrid was screwed in place, and in the chambers was gutta percha that was warmed and pressed around the, perfect. Okay, so now imagine that I'm taking this off, and I have probably 3.5, 4 hours to treat this case. Well, the first thing I see is the tissue looks like hamburger meat. Okay, it's been in for like 8, 9, 10 years. This is all like flabby. Okay. So now this is where the laser comes in, because I'm just going to hold it and we'll take it right off. You don't want a lot of bleeding, so that's all comes off. Then we're going to flap this back and clean all the implants. And so it's about at least a 3 or 4 hour procedure, except one thing: the hybrid took me 2 hours to get off because of the gutta percha. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. You have an erbium YAG laser. Erbium YAG will not touch the metal. It won't hurt the metal. So use your tips and go in there and just blow out the gutta percha. It takes a while to do that, but it just loosens out of there. You don't wanna put a burr in there, because if you screw up the screw holes, you'll never get the thing out. But the erbium will not damage the metal. So use a big cylinder, and just you can put a lot of energy in there. You just clean it all out until the gutta percha, and then take it out the shreds of gutta percha until you get to the screws. 2 hours. So I got it done, and I looked at my assistant. I go, now I can treat the case. So I had to cancel the next surgery because I didn't have enough time. I ate up all my time. So we treated this, and she came back a couple weeks later, and she said to me something very interesting. She goes, you know, my blood pressure has been uncontrollable. Since you did that, my blood pressure came down to normal. I thought that was really interesting. And I said, really? She goes, yeah, my doctors were just shocked. I go, well, it was a mess. I said, it was a mess. So, here's another one. This guy, and this is zirconia, by the way. So this implant was having a problem. So, and I didn't place these implants. So what they did is they hollowed this out. Can you see how hollowed that out that is? They made it bigger. So that way it wouldn't put pressure on the implant. And he did that for several of them, but when they did that, everything in the world gets caught in here. So he lost this implant. He lost that. But I mean, that's the wrong thing to do. It has to have an instrument fit, so things don't get caught in there. But these are the cases that I see, you know. How about cement? Well, obviously those weren't cement, but how about cement? Well, Tom Wilson said that, you know, it's not a problem for several years until the cement becomes contaminated. And when it becomes contaminated, then it kind of leaches out bacteria. He said 81% of peri-implantitis cases have cement, but I mean, I see a lot of fixed hybrid problems. There's no cement in a fixed hybrid case. So I don't really think that is that high. I really don't think I would argue with that. But this is some of the cement problems, okay, when people cement crowns up. This is why we're trying to go to more screw-on crowns. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is retrievability when we have peri-implantitis. If I tell you to remove a crown, it's much easier to go in there and screw it, put a healing abutment on, than to try to get this apart and destroy the crown, and then you have to have a new crown. But when there's cement, I normally see a problem, but it's usually localized. It doesn't blow out the whole implant. Now, what Tom did is these aren't exactly from patients, by the way. So he gave a prosthodontist, a general practitioner, a periodontist, all implants and crowns. He said, cement these on and see how much cement you get out. And this is what happened. This shows you how much cement, even being careful, came out. So that's why we're trying to get away from cement. So this is the guy that cuts my hair. Okay. This is Brad. Brad says, forget about this right now. Brad says, it's really sore. I said, well, come on in. He's cutting my hair, and I said, well, come on in, we'll take a look at it. And the implant, I think it's like 5 years old. And I pull back the tissue, and I see cement. Big bag of cement. And I look at Brad, and I know Brad pretty well. I said, Brad, there's a lot of cement down there. He goes, what does that mean? I go, well, that means we have to clean it out. So when the dentist put the crown on, the cement just went everywhere, and that's what's causing your bone loss. So I went there, and you can see now that there's the cement. Here's the lesion. That's actually the lesion right there. So what you're gonna do here is you're gonna take your laser, your chisel tip, and you're gonna clean all this up down the healthy bone. And then when you got that cleaned out, all the way down the healthy bone, you're gonna take your laser, your chisel tip, and you go thread by thread, and this will all come right off. The cement comes right off. But you're gonna clean the implant meticulously. Okay. I don't know if I have that video. And then when you do that, then you can go ahead and I'm gonna show you the steps. We're gonna use titanium brushes in here, go back with the laser, and then NDA to create a clot. Then put your PRF in there, and then put a membrane on top. So, this was from Tom Wilson. And Tom said, when there is cement, it's gonna go 2 different ways. Sometimes, if you have bleeding and probing, it could progress very slowly, and 9 years later, nothing happened. Or it could go very quickly, and a year later, you have a problem. And if you look at Brad, this was probably 4 years or 5 years after the implant was placed. Okay. So, and I've seen him since, and he goes, I said, how's that feel? He goes, God, I feel so much better. He goes, it's irritating when you feel like that. So, Okay, here's another case, the guy came in, and he had a pocket right here. I didn't place the implant, so I opened it up, and there's a cement right there. And he was mad, and I go, well, I can fix it, because you're not gonna lose your implant, it's an aesthetic zone. So these are tough, because they're aesthetic, so this lady came in, these implants are probably 10, 12 years old. This is a locator case. Lessons that you learn with locators. What do you tell your patients? Take it out of your denture at night. This is occlusion. Ready for this? That's what the bone looks like. You blew out all the bone up there. See it? Look at the locators. Okay? Look at the locators. Look at the wear on the locators. So that's, and her teeth aren't exactly the best shape, but she's grinding on her teeth, and she's blowing the bone out. So when you tell your patients to take the dentures out with locators, make sure that you make a bite guard for the lower, so it slides over the locator. I've seen patients crack the implants because of locators like that. And if I remember the patient, I put it in the lecture, but that was way before I was lecturing. But I've seen implants cracked in half. So be careful, because patients grind on these all the time. So that's occlusion. Okay, this is the guy, so I was telling you. So Mark comes in, and he's got other implant issues, but these implants, I mean, they've been put in over the last 15, 20 years. This implant's loose. I said, really? So I'm in there and I'm thinking, and the implant's probably 15 years old. I'm thinking I'm gonna reverse target. I'm moving it, I go, wow, it's all moving. I take it out, the whole buccal plate's fractured up. And I said to him, I said, where's your bite guard? He goes, I don't have a bite guard. If you look up here, you see there's no buccal plate. Because I don't have a bite guard. I said, why not? I don't like them. I don't care if you like them or not. I said, you fractured the bone out. Well, isn't there a guarantee? I said, it's like 11 years old. No, there's no guarantee after 11 years. I said, I mean, it says that you need a bite guard. So I took it out, bone grafted it. Now I have to rebuild the buccal plate, obviously. I mean, I take it out, there's nothing here all the way here. So we rebuilt the buccal plate. He's ready to put another implant in. He goes, and his wife calls, she goes, my husband doesn't want a bite guard. I go, then he loses more implants. I said, what can I tell you? I said, it's kind of stupid. So anyway, that's where we are now. But that's because, I mean, that was good bone. And the bone's still integrated into the implant. Obviously, it just fractured out the plate. Here's another guy. Now, a telltale sign that there's heavy occlusion is what? The crowns always get loose. The screws always get loose. So he said that these always get loose, always get loose, always get, they're always tightening them down. Boom, you lose that implant, occlusion. Okay, so if your crown screws get loose, it's an occlusion problem. Okay, they're just grinding on them, and the screws are backing out. Get them in a bite guard. Get the occlusion flatter and smaller. Okay, don't have these steep cusps coming off the ends. Okay, so this is a person that came in. And in fact, this is the lady I was talking about. The implant's been in 16 years. We got that implant. It's not bad for 16 years. There's not any bone on it. So, and I went in there and took out the soft tissue. I said, you had a soft tissue ring around. That was all occlusion. I said, but that implant's like brand new out of the box. She goes, well, it failed. I go, well, I understand it failed, but there's a reason it failed. I said, not that it was placed incorrectly. And then there's implants that are integrated, like this one. This is integrated, but the bone around the implant failed because of the bone graft that was put in. And the patient came in and said, yeah, I had this implant placed like 9 months ago and it feels loose. And I go, you're right. I took it out and I looked at the bone and I go, wow, she has bone around it, but it's not connected to the bone in her mouth. You know, same thing here. There's bone integrated, but the implants aren't. You know, so that's a bone graft problem. And a lot of times, another bone graft problem. See what's happening? And a lot of times what it is, and hopefully this is in your offices, but I've had temporary assistants, and they'll tell me that when they're doing extraction with bone grafts, the dentist just says, going back and grab whatever's on the shelf. Well, you don't bone graft like that. I'm sorry. You kind of look at it, you know, it's a science behind bone graft. It's how you prepare the, and we're going to go over how to prepare the osteotomies later. But it's what bone graft you put in there, what's gonna turn over, what's, good for that patient, how long do you wait, and stuff like that. So anyway, this lady said my implant's loose, and I tried to get it out. I'm like, wow, it's not, I thought it was just unscrewed. I took it out. She goes, that hurts. So I had to numb it. I took it out. Oh my God, your bones with it, for crying out loud. So anyway, so that's some of the problems. I see a lot of weird problems. There's another one where the bone was actually attached to the implant in here, and I broke it loose. I had to break that loose. So this one's interesting. So patient came in like this, had the crown like that, and look at the bone loss. Okay. So that was my implant I placed. I mean, obviously I don't know the crowns. When they came in like that, you think I was a little aggravated? More than aggravated. So what is this? So wasn't soon after that this lady came in. Now, I didn't place that implant, okay? But she came in with this. See the big bubble there? And this is a patient of mine's daughter. My daughter's having a problem. So I flapped it back and I cleaned it all out. We did surgery there. And that's afterwards. We cleaned it all out. We had the healing abutment on. That's how it healed. It healed perfectly. I told the dentist, okay, go ahead, take an impression and put a new crown on it. She takes an impression, puts it, so that's how it healed. Puts a new crown on it. Boom, look at that. And I said to her, I said, what is this? And that's the abutment. I go, well, the abutment has a huge gap in it. What is that? I said, I just fixed this whole thing and now the patient's abscessing here because of this thing. So she came in, and this is what is really cool about your laser. She came in, now I've already treated this. If we go back one, I already treated this, pulled it back, cleaned all the threads in it. So I know it's all clean. And I know it's the abutment. It's not the same abutment I had. This is how she healed. So when I knew that it was okay, all I did was unscrew this, took my radial firing tip, and this is the only time you're ever going to use a radial firing tip because I didn't touch the implant. It went into the tissue, de-epithelialized the tissue, changed the abutment to that, and 2 weeks later totally healed. Okay? That's the beauty of a laser. Now you could go in there with your radial firing tip here, and then also real gently at like 3 watts. You go with your Nd:YAG just in the soft tissue. Don't touch your implant, just in the soft tissue. Kill the bacteria. So when you change your healing abutment, it's pretty simple, and it heals real nicely. And then she went for a crown. And I sent her this picture of this healing abutment versus that. I said, I don't know what you put in. I said, but that's the right one that fits in there. So that's the issue that a lot of times I have, incorrectly restored. Okay. Poor crown ratio. Wait, here's the implant. That's the crown. Okay, wait until you see this one. This one was just done. This, the lady came in, she goes, I hate my crown. I said, what is this implant? So this is a 7mm implant, right there. That's 7. So I have no idea what size that is. Maybe 3 or 4. Why would you ever hang a crown off a 4mm implant on a molar? So this lady is very anal. So I had to go in there, took this out. We bone grafted up to here. We used PRF and then I said, we probably will need to do a sinus lift and bone augmentation to get your implant in, and get a long enough implant in. And she was fine with it, but, and this is what it looked like. I mean, this is, I can't make this stuff up. And as people come in with this problem, my library gets bigger and bigger. Here's a patient, this is why I always say you never know what's happening, has a crack in her implant. The reason she has a crack is this is a molar with a mini implant. Why would you use a mini and the bone's this thick? Because somebody who placed it felt safe. I could place a small implant, I won't hit anything vital. Obviously not, if you're cracked. So I told the dentist, I said, your implant's cracked. Okay, I'll take it out. Then he looked at it and this whole part fractured off. He goes, no, you can take it out. I said, perfect. Because to take that out now is really tough because you have to trephine it out. I can't, there's no screw hole. So you gotta trephine it out and almost take it out like, just go back and forth, just kind of wiggle it out like a tube. And the patient wasn't real happy, but it's like, you know, for me. Here's another cracked implant. Okay, that we had to take out. This is another cracked implant, and this implant cracked, as you can see it, right across here. Okay. Now, this is an implant damaged by incorrect settings. Okay. And I'm gonna hold off on this, and we're gonna take a little break for a minute. We're gonna run to the restroom.